Hey, everybody. Hope you had a great week this week. I wanted to talk to you about this concept I keep seeing in various places around media land about emerging from crisis. There's been all this talk about, living in the new normal or ways we have to get back out there and just go back to regular life. I don't think we're emerging from any crisis anytime soon, to be honest with you. I think there's plenty of evidence that COVID 19 has not left us completely anyway. I think there's plenty of evidence that the world is suffering from an enormous amount of conflict and disparity and division, and the elected leadership of our country is not doing a lot to help with that, unfortunately. And so I think it's a bit of a misnomer, right? That we're somehow coming out of crisis, because I don't think we are, unfortunately, anytime soon. And yet we are still expected to get back out there. So thinking about what does it mean to come out of quarantine at least and look for ways, if not the new normal, what are the ways that we can at least think about moving forward, beginning to re-engage with parts of our lives. So whether you're thinking about making a transition of having been working from home to going back to an office, or going out to a restaurant for the first time, going and getting your hair cut, or some other way that you're going to re-engage with a part of your life that you have been isolated from during this time. I've found that for myself, there's a few things that I've been trying to practice to help me think about how I navigate these very uncertain times and this roller coaster that we're on together. So here's 5 things that I've been practicing that I wanted to share with you. The first one is to check your mentality. I really think it's important to think about what's the frame of reference that you're approaching the world from, the perspective, the mindset. What is it that you are choosing? And it is a choice. What are you choosing to set as your frame of reference when you approach the world? Is it one that we talked about a couple weeks ago where you're thinking through hope and abundance, or are you stuck in a mentality that has a lot of fear and scarcity to it? Just understanding where your mentality or your mindset is can give you some insight into how gentle you might need to be with yourself during these times. A second thing I've been trying to remember to do is to practice controlling what I can control, identify what I can control, and then try to control it. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. Is your engagement with other people, whether it's on social media or in real life, is there a lot of sort of screaming into the wind happening? Or are you engaging in effective dialogue, effective conversation? Are you listening? The saying about we have 2 ears and 1 mouth is because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. How are you doing that? Are you really focusing on what you can control, or are you getting stuck spending a lot of time worrying about the stuff that's really outside of your control? A third thing to really remember, and this one is just a huge one for me, is to remember to be true to myself. If there are gaps between my core values and beliefs and ways in which I am expected to engage in the world, either with other people or in situations that do not align with my core values and belief, I need to remember that it is important and okay for me to be true to myself. So, avoiding putting myself into situations where there's a real mismatch between those two things is something that's important for me to do. Tip number 4, practicing kindness and connection. So, we've been pretty isolated from each other during this time, except through technological means. We've done a million Zoom meetings or some other platform that allows us to see each other on video. We've done phone calls, we've done a huge volume of email, but we've not had nearly as much in-person interaction during this time as we have previously. So thinking about how you come back to like normal life, or just moving forward, what are some of the ways that you can be intentional about practicing kindness and connecting with people, again, in a way that respects your values, that is focused on controlling what you can control, all those other things keeping in mind. But what are some ways that you can practice that kindness and connection that's meaningful for you? Last but not least, the tip number 5 is about getting moving. There are 4 fingers pointing back at me as I point one at you to ask the question about, are you getting out there and moving enough? There is the first law of physics, Newton's law of physics, about a body at work wants to stay at work, a body at rest wants to stay at rest. So the more we're in motion, the more we want to stay in motion. And when we spend too much time laying around and being lethargic, it can be really difficult to get up and get going again. So I'm trying to be very intentional myself about setting aside some time to take my butt outside and walk down the road, or go play fetch with the dog, or make sure I'm getting out there into the pasture to visit the animals. Something that gets me moving, something that gets me outside and allows me to feel those fantastic endorphins that help elevate mood and just make us generally feel better. So these are some ways that I am trying to, some things I'm trying to keep in mind as I think about how to navigate these new and continuously uncertain times as we move forward. And I would encourage you to do the same. I hope that you have a great week. And above all, remember, we really are in this together. There's one world, there's a bunch of us. We have to figure this stuff out. And so I'm truly hopeful that we decide that we're going to stick together and stay safe and stay healthy. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.